Hello, today we're going to be talking about Module 15.2, which is two-way relative frequency tables. So for Activity 1, it says creating a relative frequency table. The frequency table shows the results of a survey that Maria took at her school. She asked 50 randomly selected students whether they preferred dogs, cats, or others. We want to convert this table, this one right here, into a relative frequency table that uses decimals as well as percents. So for the section A, we're first going to do the decimals. So divide the numbers in the frequency table by the total. So dog, you're going to do 22 divided by 50, which is 0.44. For cat, we're going to take 15 divided by 50, which is 0.3. For other, we're going to do 13 over 50 equals 0.26. And total, it's going to be 50 over 50, or 1. Now we just have to write these decimals as percent. So 0.44 is 44%. We have 30%, 26%, and when we add all those up, you get 100%. So how can you check that you've correctly converted frequencies to relative frequencies? For the decimals, they're going to add up to 1. For the percent, they're going to add up to 100%. So that's kind of answering question 1 and 2 there. So for Explore Activity 2, we want to create a two-way relative frequency table. So this is not just dog, cat, and other, but it's going to break it down into what gender. So these are our two frequencies. We have preferred pet and gender. So for her survey, Maria also recorded the gender of each student. The results are shown in the two-way frequency table below. Each entry is the frequency of the students who prefer a certain pet and are a certain gender. For instance, 10 girls prefer dogs as pets. So we have to complete the table. So what we're going to do is just add up for the girls. We have 10 dogs, 9 cats, 3 others for 22 people. The next one, for boys, 12 plus 6 plus 10 is 28. And there are 50 total, and you can add up the totals. Now for dogs, we have 22, cats 15, other is 13. So that shouldn't be too hard. So where have you seen the numbers in the total row before? That was from the previous one, from just the relative frequency. We're just breaking it up into a two-way. In terms of Maria's survey, what does the grand total represent? The 50, that represents the total number of students surveyed, boys and girls. All right, so now there's a couple of different frequencies. We have a joint relative frequency, and that's found by dividing a frequency that is not in the total row or column. So if you notice, I have the blue circle there. That's going to be everything that is in the blue. It's going to be that divided by the grand total of 50. Now, marginal relative frequency, this is in red, and it's found by dividing a row total or column by the grand total. So that's going to be right there and right there. So in the red, you're going to divide it. That's going to be your marginal relative frequency. With all of those, you're going to divide them by the 50. So if you take a look at the table from before, so we have 10 out of 50, which is 0.2. So I'll go ahead and fill this in really quick. We'll keep those blue. All right, so we have 9 out of 50, which is 0.18. For the other, we're going to have 3 out of 50, which is 0.06. And the total is 22 out of 50, which is 0.44. Now we're going to do the same thing with the boys. So we have 12 boys prefer dogs, so 12 out of 50 is 0.24. Now we have 6 out of 50, 0.12. 10 out of 50 is 0.2. And then for boys, we have 28 out of 50, which is 0.56. Now I guess I should have done those in red, sorry. Now for the total, we have 15 out of 50, which is 0.3. And then the other, we have 13 out of 50, which is 0.26. So if you notice, everything is divided by 50. So for the girl row, you can just check by adding all those up. So I'll just do a couple of them. We don't have to do them all. But 0.2 plus 0.18 plus 0.06 equals 0.44. So we're just adding the girl row. Then if you add the boy row, it's going to equal the 0.56. If you add the dog column, 0.2, so columns go down. So 0.2 plus 0.24 equals 0.44. The cat, so 0.18 plus 0.12 equals 0.30. So you can add all those up yourself. So it says a joint relative frequency in a two-way relative frequency table tells you what portion of the entire data set falls in the intersection of a particular value of one of the variables and a particular value of the other variable. What is the joint relative frequency of students who are boys and prefer cats as pets? So you're going to go up here, you're going to say boys and cats. So you just kind of follow until you find your boys and cats, and it is 12%. Now, a marginal relative frequency in a two-way relative frequency table tells you what portion of the entire data represents a particular value of just one of the variables. What is the marginal relative frequency of students surveyed who are boys? So you're just going to go up here, and we just want the total boys. So it's going to be this guy here, which is 56%. All right, so the last part of this is just calculating conditional relative frequencies. So one other type of relative frequency that you can obtain from a two-way table is a conditional relative frequency. A conditional relative frequency is found by dividing a frequency that is not in the total row or total column by the frequencies row total or column total. So there's always one major word that kind of shows this, and it's given. And I'll kind of explain what we're doing there. So it says, from Maria's two-way frequency table, you know that 22 students are girls and 15 students prefer cats. You also know that 9 students are girls who prefer cats. Use this to find each conditional relative frequency. So find the conditional relative frequency that a student surveyed prefers cats as pets, given that the student is a girl. So it's going to be, we're only going to look at the girl column. So if you go back to the table, we're only going to look at the girl column. And we'll go to green. So we're only looking at the girls. So there's 22 total girls. And which ones prefer cats? That's going to be 9. So 9 out of 22. So 9 out of 22 is about 40%, 41%. All right, so now find the conditional relative frequency that a student surveyed is a girl given, there's that given, that the student prefers cats as pets. So the bottom, so that is a girl given they prefer cats as pets. So we're going to look at, it is a girl given they prefer cats as pets. So we're only going to look at the cats and the girls. So we're going to have 9 out of 15. So 9 out of 15, which is 0.6 or 60%. So for number 7, When calculating a conditional relative frequency, why do you divide a row total or column total and not the grand total? Because it says given, that means that they're only talking about that row or that column. So that's why you're going to divide it by that total. So if you take a look at your turn, you can obtain conditional relative frequencies from a two-way relative frequency table. Find the conditional relative frequency that a student prefers cats as pets given the students as a girl. So it's going to be cats divided by girls. So we're only going to look at the girls. So 9 out of 22. So it's going to be 9 out of 22, which is about 41%. Okay, and then the last one we're going to talk about, we've talked about it before in this 15.1, but we're going to look for possible associations. So Maria conducted her survey because she was interested in the question, does gender influence what type of pet people prefer? If there's no influence, then the distribution of gender within each subgroup of pet preference should be roughly equal. If it is higher, then they're more likely. If it's less, then they're less likely. So identify the percent of all students who surveyed are girls, 44%. Determine each conditional relative frequency. Of the 22 students who prefer dogs as pets, 10 are girls. So that's 45%. The next one, 15 students prefer cats, 9 are girls, so 60%, and then 23%. So let's interpret that. So the percent of the percent of girls among students who prefer dogs is close to 44%, so it's at 45%. So gender does not seem to influence preference for dogs. Now the percent of girls among students who prefer cats is much greater at 60%, so girls are more likely than boys to prefer cats. And then with the other being 23, the percent of girls among students who prefer pets is much less than 44 at 23%, so they are less likely than boys to prefer that. So suppose you analyze the data focusing on boys rather than girls. So instead of, how you had your 44% with the girls, what was it? Girls was 22 out of 50. Boys would just be 28 out of 50. So it'd be 56%. And then for step 2, it would be instead of 45%, 55%. Instead of 60%, 40%. Instead of 23%, 77%. So you just look at the boy column instead of the girl column. And then go that way. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me through email and I can get back to you. Thanks.